In this video, I just wanted to quickly touch upon a few upgrades I made to my entire automatic water change system, and I finally added the Aqua reverse osmosis filter as well. So I'm going to show you back here, I mounted the reverse osmosis filter on the wall, but I did it as a separate line. It's not a part of my automatic water change system whatsoever. I teed off the cold water line before it even gets to the first element in the automatic water change system. I teed it off with the valve right there so I can turn it on and off as I choose. And that white line just goes to the start of the reverse osmosis filter. And I do have a previous video showing how that other automatic water change system works, so I'll link that down below. But you can see I teed it off, it goes to the reverse osmosis filter, and then on the very top of the reverse osmosis filter, there's a black line going towards the left. That goes to the existing waistline for the automatic water change system. When the tanks overflow into the drainage valve, it goes down that long cleared tube there. I'm letting the wastewater from the reverse osmosis filter enter that same waistline. And then on the right-hand side here, this black line, that is my product water. And I actually run that through this long hose and out of this nozzle with a valve straight to the tank. I don't use a reservoir currently. And there's a few reasons for that. The biggest one is that I didn't have room for a big reservoir down here in the basement, and I didn't really have a good way to get the reservoir size I wanted down here through all the doorways. And also, it was just kind of easier and simpler. Temperature change isn't really a problem because I'm only pushing something like 3 gallons per hour. So I usually will just extend the hose, put it in a tank, open up the two valves, the little one, this little blue one here on the handle, and then the one where it's teed off by the cold water. I open up both of those valves and just let the water flow in for usually 90 minutes to 2 hours, and it will only drop the tank temperature by a few degrees, which is partially what I'm going for anyway. I want a rush of cold water plus a drop in TDS, and then I might hold off and let the tank temperature rise again for a few hours, and then I might do it one more time to lower the TDS a little bit more. But it's been working great so far, and it's not hooked up to the automatic water change system in any way. This is just a whole manual process I can do on my own when I want to pull the hose out and just drop the TDS in one of my tanks. Now, if I wanted to do all 9 of them, it would take the better portion of a day, and it would require setting a lot of alarms on my phone. That's the biggest drawback with this right now, is that it relies on me setting an alarm on my phone, or this thing will just keep running. It would just keep dropping the TDS and dropping my tank temperature, so I do have to be diligent about setting that alarm. But besides that, this has been working pretty good for me so far. And for those who might be unaware, the reason you want to lower the TDS possibly and drop the temperature like that is to imitate the rainy season in their natural habitat and try to trigger a spawn out of your plecos. And the reason I made this little handle here with this hook shape is because it then sits a little bit inside the tank, a little bit underneath the level of the rim so that it can't be pulled out easily. The water will keep flowing into the tank, and if for some reason somebody happened to trip over it, it wouldn't just get pulled out easily. So with this, I kind of had to do another upgrade as well. Those of you who have seen my drip irrigation system know that it is one drip irrigation line that tees off into 9 separate lines, and it goes behind all my tanks, and it goes one to each tank to a drip emitter that's above each tank. And when the automatic water change system turns on, all of them turn on at the same time, and all of them turn off at the same time. And the reason that was kind of an issue is because I have this system now where I can add reverse osmosis water as I please, but then my automatic water change system immediately begins diluting it with tap water, which my tap water has a TDS around 170. So if I want to target an 80 to 100 TDS, I can get it down to that, but then I have 2 automatic water changes going a day. It's going to instantly start diluting that with higher TDS water. So I wanted a way to just shut off a tank individually without having to shut off the automatic water changes to all of them. Now, if I was smart, I would have built something like that in the beginning. I didn't. Hindsight's 20/20, so I had to add a feature like that to my existing system. And while I was in there working on that, I wanted to fix 2 other little things. First off, you could see all of those lines in the back are kind of just one big bird's nest. If I was working on one of the air lines or one of the water lines for another tank and I kind of put some tension on one of these lines, you can see this thing gets pulled out pretty easily. It's happened to me before where I accidentally pulled out one of these drip emitters without realizing it, and it was kind of spraying water onto the top of this lid instead of into the tank. The water did eventually find its way into the tank through the little edges around the lid and it didn't overflow over the sides of the tank, but it still kind of soaked into the black curtains that I have that hide all the wiring. So I wanted to fix that little pull-out issue. And I also wanted to make it easier to swap out the drip emitters, maybe go from a 2-gallon to a 3-gallon per hour or back to a 2-gallon per hour pretty easily. And the way I had them on there with clamps right now, it was just a lot of work to switch them out. So that's where this little contraption comes into play. I had to build 9 of these, one for each tank. So what you're looking at here at the very top is a 90-degree angle fitting, 90-degree fitting for a drip emitter. Elbow fitting was the word I was looking for. Sorry about that. I have a 90-degree elbow drip irrigation fitting going to a little section of drip irrigation line, and that goes to a drip irrigation shutoff valve, just a simple on-off, and then another small section of drip irrigation line, and then into a straight coupling push-to-connect fitting for drip irrigation. Now, you'll see I have the high-pressure clamps on both ends of the shutoff valve and also on the 90-degree elbow. And then once it goes into the push-to-connect fitting, I don't have it here. I should have put one on here, for example, but on the other end of that would come out a little section of drip irrigation line again, and then the drip emitter itself with another high-pressure clamp. So just to recap, this is what it looked like before. I had it kind of just going through a little loop on the top to try to help get the line going in at the right angle, going straight downwards instead of just doing a quick 90-degree turn right out from the drip emitter. But it just went straight line from the back room all the way to the drip emitter. Couldn't turn it off at all. It got easily pulled out. There was no easy way to swap out the drip emitters. And then this is what it looks like in the end with this little contraption on there. So at the very top, I actually nailed in a little loop that the drip line can go through just before the elbow. And what that does is the elbow kind of acts as a stopper, so even if that line gets pulled on a little bit, the elbow stops anything from coming out. So I put the high pressure clamps on all of the connections, obviously besides the 2 connections that go on each side of the push to connect fitting, and then I put a little dab of pipe dope on each connection too before actually putting the drip irrigation line on them. I feel like it just helps kind of seal things up before I put on those high pressure clamps. I haven't had it negatively affect my fish at all. Definitely don't put any of the pipe dope on the 2 ends that go inside each end of that push to connect coupling. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So that little loop at the top there that I nailed in stops it from getting pulled out. Then it goes straight down, and the shutoff valve now installed allows me to shut off the water going to just one tank. So when the automatic water change system runs, it won't be running in that one tank until I open it up again. And then that straight push-to-connect coupling allows me to quickly disconnect the drip emitter and the little bit of drip irrigation line attached to it and just swap it out for a different one if I ever want to swap out to maybe a higher or lower gallon per hour drip emitter. And the little blue clips on each end of the push-to-connect coupling just help stop any drip irrigation line from being inadvertently pulled out. Because you do have to push in that little end in order to pull out the line, so the clip stops you from being able to push in the end. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I guess the one biggest regret about the way I made this water system, and this would definitely be a recommendation if you're going to follow my lead and build your automatic water change system like mine, is better cable management. Try to mount all of your water lines and air lines to the back of your frame. And just mount them as well as you can and tee them off to come out above each tank. Have little outlets, have little shutoff valves. That way they're not all tangled up back there. They're more neatly managed. You won't accidentally be pulling any of them out. And I would recommend just running 2 water lines and an air line. 1 water line for your automatic water change system with tap water. The other line you could push reverse osmosis water through. And then an air line, which is going to be for your air. But that's just a recommendation that you will totally see me implement on the next rack that I build, which is God knows when. Whenever I get a new house and I get a full dedicated fish room and somehow figure out a way to move this rack to that new place. When I do all of that, you'll see me finally do better cable management and mount it all in the back like that. But for now, this was kind of my little solution to solve those problems. So just to recap, I finally added the NU Aqua reverse osmosis system. I did not do a reservoir. Instead, I pushed the product water directly to the tank, and I just do it manually whenever I want to lower the TDS of a tank. And that line runs completely independent of my tap water automatic water change system. And then I made some modifications to the tap water automatic water change system to modify the drip irrigation so that, 1, I could shut it off at any given tank whenever I want and turn it back on easily. 2, so that it won't easily get pulled out, I kind of changed the configuration and made little nailed-in loops so none of the drip emitters will get accidentally pulled out anymore. And 3, I added push-to-connect fittings so that I can easily swap out drip emitters if any of them need to be replaced for a bigger or smaller one, or if any of them get clogged. So these upgrades have enabled me to at least better control the TDS in my water so I can try to trigger spawns better. I'm still very bad at it. It's definitely something I'm working on and trying to get as much knowledge as I can. But yeah, this is a big step in towards doing that. So I will put the links to all of the products in the description below. I know I didn't really show how I did everything, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful in any way, hit that like button. And if you're new to my channel and you want to see a lot of DIY aquarium content just like this, hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching.